Hello, you're watching Btekt. David here and welcome to my full photography review and guide for the Sony Xperia 1. Surely this is the handset where Sony show their true colours when it comes to their photography expertise. This is the first Sony handset that's been produced with the help of their Alpha division, the people who make their incredible range of full-frame mirrorless cameras. And I really mean it when I say that they're incredible. If you've ever had the chance to look through the viewfinder of an A9 with some serious glass attached to it, then you'll know what I mean. With these guys involved, I'm expecting the Xperia 1 to be among the very best. For the first time, it's not down on the number of lenses when compared to the competition. All Sony flagships prior to this one, bar the Sony Xperia XZ2 Premium, have had single lenses. This time we have three 12-megapixel sensors, one ultra-wide, one wide and one telephoto. The wide lens has an extremely fast f1.6 aperture and uses Sony's Exmor RS for mobile imaging sensor, the mobile version of the tech used in the big boy Alpha cameras. The other two are regular CMOS sensors. The ultra-wide-angle lens has an f2.4 aperture and a 16mm focal length, while the telephoto has an f2.2 and a 56mm focal length. The Exmor sensor does have exceptionally good low-light abilities, and thanks to the combination of its OIS and EIS, it is quite easy to grab a sharp shot handheld in very low-light conditions. It's almost like a night mode, although it doesn't take multiple exposures, just one exposure long enough to get the shot. There is something about these multi-lens smartphones that I find a little bit annoying. It's nothing serious, but it is a similar situation to the P30 Pro. When you have multiple sensors, it would be nice if they all perform the same. The P30 Pro has its Super Spectrum sensor, which has phenomenal low light. But if you switch between the normal lens and, say, the ultra-wide-angle lens in dark conditions, you really can see the difference in performance. The ultra-wide lens won't be able to see anything, while the Super Spectrum sensor has no trouble at all. The same thing is true here, but to a lesser degree, but I do find it a little bit annoying. Why not just put three of your best sensors in your smartphone? Before we go on, let me say a big thank you to Direct Mobiles. They have over 24 years of award-winning customer service, and their comparison tools allow you to compare all of the available deals with all of the UK networks, all in one place. It definitely is a great place to start your search for your new phone. Check down in the video description below for a link, or you can search directmobiles.co.uk. So let's take a look through the camera app, and you'll notice that it's a very busy main screen. Lots of buttons everywhere. So let's start at the top. And to the far left you have the flash toggle switch. Choose between auto, fill flash, red eye reduction and torch. Next to that is the portrait mode switch. Tap this and it will switch to its telephoto lens and apply its background blur effects. I suppose on the face of it, having the portrait mode switch so easily accessible kind of makes sense, but it's really not the best executed portrait mode that I've come across by any means. You can only use the telephoto lens for your portraits, and it won't apply the effect unless you stand quite far away from your subject. Moving on, and the next switch allows you to choose between the various aspect ratios. You can switch between 4:3, 16:9, or 1:1. Next to that is the brightness and color temperature switch, and then the button to switch between the front and rear cameras, which can also be done by swiping down on the middle of the screen. And then finally, at the top, there is the settings cog. Again, plenty of settings for you to mess around with here, most being self-explanatory, such as the self-timer, which will give you a delay of 10 or 3 seconds, and still image size, for which there is a button on the main screen anyway. Predictive capture cleverly works by detecting smiles or movement in the frame, and then takes multiple shots before you actually hit the shutter, for which you can save them all or select the best one. The object tracking works very well. Tap onto your object to track and lock focus. Other options worth mentioning here are the lens correction. Without this option switched on, your shots with the ultra-wide-angle lens will have a fisheye effect, which is normal for such ultra-wide-angle lenses that don't have corrective optics. As I found out the hard way, I have to admit, in my unboxing, but was quickly corrected by you guys. Further down, and the common settings are more general, giving you things like the save location. Touch to capture allows you to tap the screen to take a photo, and the grid lines will help you compose your shot. The most interesting setting down here, I think, is the smart launch, which I think is a very cool feature. While the screen is locked, if you pick up the device and hold it up in landscape mode, it will know that you want to take a picture and automatically activate the camera. The settings here allow you to either confirm that you want to use the camera by touching within the circle, or you can set it to automatically take the picture once you confirm and tap that circle. Back on the main screen, and switching between the lenses is a little bit cumbersome, I think. You can't switch to the ultra wide angle lens without activating the telephoto lens first. Tap once for the 2x zoom and then tap again for the ultra wide angle. Or if you tap and slide, the ultra wide angle button appears to the left. Switch to video by tapping on this icon here. You then get slightly different options at the top of the screen with the switch to activate the HDR. HDR gives the camera the ability to see a greater range of brightness if you like. So you can resolve more of what's in the shadows as well as capturing more detail in the clouds. So it does give a closer representation of what we would see with our eyes.
Wow! That was really loud.
Hit the settings cog at the top, where you'll be presented with the video settings. Object tracking is a great feature to have with video, although it is not available at 4K, only at 1080p. I think the HDR videos look great, but if you want to get the very best out of this phone when it comes to video, you need to open the Cinema Pro app, where you get the full manual video controls and LUTs to give your videos a cinematic feel. And it does kind of encourage you to use this app. Sony have made it so you can only shoot with the 21:9 screen aspect ratio in this mode. It can't be done in the standard camera app. While I usually don't like it when manufacturers restrict stuff from us, I think that this is a good move because it encourages people to learn how to use manual controls. Finally, within the camera app there is the mode button. Under here you'll find the specialist camera modes. Portrait selfie is one for the selfie lovers, giving you bokeh and individual beautifying effect controls. And then next to that we've got the Google Lens, which basically lets you Google stuff by just pointing the camera at it. Next to that is probably my favourite mode in any Sony smartphone, and that's the super slow motion function. This phone is capable of shooting at 960 frames per second in both 720p and in 1080p, but for a shorter duration. And I do like the implementation of it, allowing you to record continuously and then grab a super slow motion shot anytime you like. Next is the AR Effect app. If you're familiar with any Sony phone, then you're probably familiar with this app as well. And nothing really much has changed here, although the amount of downloadable content is always improving. And this app is actually a lot of fun to use. Next to that we have the manual controls for photo, giving us a shutter speed from 30 seconds down to 1/4000th of a second and an ISO ranging from 64 up to 3200. This phone performs very well in manual mode, and having a physical shutter button, in my opinion, just makes it more fun to use. It's definitely worth sticking at the manual mode, as you will get better shots from it than you will in auto. You can also select HDR in this mode, which isn't something that you can do with all manual modes on all phones. Next to that is Creative Effect, which is a good selection of quite interesting filters for both photo and video. And then finally at the bottom there is Panorama, allowing you to shoot a 360-degree image of your surroundings. I think overall I have mixed feelings about the camera and the Xperia 1. In ideal conditions it performs brilliantly, but then so do most cameras. And compared to previous Sony flagships, they've definitely closed the gap to their competition when it comes to the quality of their photos. But I feel in one area that it is let down is in the processing. Now, some people may appreciate that it doesn't process as much as other smartphones do. There's definitely less sharpening and less color manipulation going on. This is definitely a phone for serious photographers who like to shoot in manual mode and who don't mind touching up their images after. If you think that's you and you don't like the way that some smartphones oversaturate and possibly over-sharpen their shots, then this is the phone for you. But let's face it, most of us aren't like that, and we just want the phone to deliver us the best shot possible. Video, I feel it performs a lot better. In fact, I think it's one of the best out there. Okay, it doesn't shoot at 60 frames per second, but that's not the end of the world. The HDR videos are great and stabilization is very good even at 4K. And then of course there is the Cinema Pro app, which literally turns this thing into a cinema camera. For more details on that, check out my Cinema Pro video, which is in the tab above, or you'll find it in the description below. So there you have it, Sony Xperia 1. It's a great handset all round, and I think I like the form factor more than anything. It's probably one of my favourite phones at the moment, but it also might be one of the most short-lived. The Xperia 2 is just around the corner. In fact, it's due to be released at IFA in September. I will be at IFA reporting on this phone and all the other releases there. So make sure that you hit the subscribe button, double tap notifications and smash the like button so you don't miss out. You can also follow me on Facebook, Instagram and Twitter. It's at Btekt, or you can add me on Snapchat at david.btekt. Thanks for watching. My name's David. This is Btekt.